23 remaining, 15 seconds. Mayfield flings it left side, end zone. Caught! Wow. Caught by Van Jefferson! With 9 seconds remaining. Touchdown, LA! 16 up, and a Matt Gay extra point can win it. Mayfield, Baker, the touchdown maker.
Hope you're enjoying your Victory Friday. Here's a special weekend edition of Between the Horns presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers. I'm JB Long, joined by my friends, my colleagues, DeMarco Farr, Maurice Jones-Drew, and Erica Tamposi. The Rams coming off a thrilling come-from-behind victory led by Baker Mayfield to beat the Raiders and snap their 6-game losing streak. I couldn't sleep. Anybody else have trouble?
No.
Slept like a baby.
You guys wind it down better than I do.
Same. Wow. JB, we're in the same boat. I sound like this today because for the fourth quarter, I went down to see some friends that were watching the game, and I lost my voice because I hid my credential, so I didn't look like a crazy fan screaming, or I didn't look like but I was just so excited. I was like, oh my God, that 98 yards that they have to go after this punt, all right, whatever. It's going to be fun. And then to see that happen, that's why I sound like this. And then you know how they the Christmas Carol, it's like Sugar Plum Fairies danced in their heads? That catch by Ben Skoranek danced in my head while I was trying to fall asleep last night. I was just this is so exciting. And this team just needed this. I get it. It's the season has been what it is. And it's just the Raiders who have, I guess they've Raidered before. But I just feel great, you guys. I just feel so excited and
Reach
fun.
in, just grab the heart, pull it out of Raider fans. I love it. I had a bath. I lit the candles. I relaxed and drifted off into a beautiful sleep. Let the Raider fans stay up and think about that. I was so happy. Yes, good night, world. Absolutely. Yeah, you have sleepless nights.
Maurice just walked across the sidewalk over to NFL Network to talk some more talk, I imagine. I didn't get to see your post game, but I had a sense which direction you were going.
Yeah, it wasn't JB as what you might have thought. It was the MJD Bowl, right? So everybody was happy. But I'll say this, and this is one thing I have to give Raider fans credit for. A bunch of my friends, family members of Raider fans, they all text me before the game. They're like, this is a game that the Raiders will lose because they're supposed to win. And I was like, get out of here. There's no way that if they play Baker Mayfield that they're going to allow this team to come back. And sure enough, everything that needed to happen, happened. So right now I think I'm going to go play the lottery and go in there in my Rams gear and see if, maybe that stuff is still on us. Because, what a game, right? From all the different penalties and the gritty. They were grittying as the ball's rolling down to the 2-yard line. It was insane.
Tempting the football gods, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was unreal. And so, but it was just we talked about it. The defense played really well. To hold Josh Jacobs to under 100 yards, a guy that was averaging 150 yards a game, multiple touchdowns. They did an awesome job with that. Jalen Ramsey, we can't talk enough about what he was able to do. He played press man all game on Devontae Adams. Gave up 2 catches, and the third catch was a zone play where he ran across and Bobby Wagner tackled. 2 catches against Devontae Adams playing press man. No safety help. Come on.
Maurice, he left the building. He came in and left with a briefcase.
It was about business.
It's about business. I love this dude. Just tremendous. Absolutely. I hope your relatives weren't in the first 3 rows because those were the Raider fans talking the most trash. That's why I started the show with this. Yeah,
they did, my family didn't show up. They were all over the cup. We don't.
I don't feel bad for Raider fans today.
They're not to come to the Rams' house. We can't have that.
I like that NFL Network showed everyone's picks for the games and just called it the MJD Bowl and didn't given their picks. I like that so fast. I was like, this is awesome.
So I got to take you guys behind the scenes a little bit. I pick up Maurice yesterday. We want to get there early. He's got work to do. I got work to do. We want to beat traffic, etc. I have never seen him so ready for battle. It wasn't about last night's game, so to speak, but MJD was ready to clap back on anyone coming for the Rams. Anyone. Sean McVay, John Wolford, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Ramsey, Raheem Morris. He was taking all comers. He's sitting there if they say this, I'm going to come at him with this. And I'm like, wait, this isn't even a game plan. This is just like a how you're going to survive the next month of the season. And I like that the Rams brought that disposition too. Like they were ready for the Raiders. That was cool.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? 48 hours.
Baker Mayfield.
Listen, I can't even
did.
cook a pancake after 48 hours learning how to do it. It took me 2 weeks to learn an NFL playbook.
Wow.
And then the hardest situation in football, a 2-minute drill from your 2-yard line with no timeouts and 1:45 to go.
Silent count.
Silent count. And not even knowing the count, right? Not even knowing the count. Your center's telling you, Brian Allen's telling you, hey, this is what we're going to do on this count. Like,
Wow.
You can't write a better story.
I'm not trying to point
knew it.
fingers. You did. You wore leather
did.
pants to our pregame show
Listen,
and to SoFi Stadium.
I got
it's
my
a special
hair cut.
occasion.
I got my hair cut before. I wore leather pants. I was like, I'm feeling dangerous. Something is in the air. This is and before we
was.
even started our pregame show, I was telling you, I'm like, this is gonna be if I'm telling you guys, I have this feeling, and you guys were like, I don't know, he's been here, 10 minutes as McVay
Erica,
said in the
there's
victory.
no way you can get a guy ready to play that fast. No way.
But you can when you're Baker Mayfield and Sean McVay, DeMarco.
Wow, there's no way.
We're setting up to do our pregame show. DeMarco and Eric and I are sitting there in the south end zone, and I leaned down to DeMarco. I'm like, DeMarco, have you ever seen a quarterback run a jet sweep in pregame warmup?
Nope.
Like, Baker Mayfield is literally getting every rep in possible. I'm like, that's how I know he's playing, is because he's bringing Ben Skoranek in motion and practicing the timing on a jet sweep handoff 2 hours before kickoff.
It's just incredible. Absolutely incredible what they accomplished. How many bad plays can you count out of Baker Mayfield? It looks like he's been here longer. So either he's better than what we think, or we're not giving Sean McVay enough credit for what he does with that position.
I think both things. A lot of things can be true here, and we'll get into some of what those are. But Maurice, he didn't make every throw, and there were a few busted plays, as we all anticipated, including some that left the Rams with only one timeout to use on defense. And how about that stand that they got? I mean, for all of the heroics of Mayfield and McVay in that offense, like, come on.
Yeah.
You got one timeout to get a stop, and you forced the Raiders to punt.
Well, that's what I would say. Like you, it's funny. I was asked a grade on the network post game show. What would you give him? I was like A+. At first, I was like a B because again, he came in, he missed some throws, he messed up some plays. That's
He doesn't even know their
right?
names. He doesn't
Exactly.
know their
That's
names.
But in any situation when you find a way to get a victory, no matter how it comes, it's an A+ for me. You have passed the test, and it wasn't again. It was he more than anything. He brought hope, right? And the only thing I'll say about Baker is stay humble because Baker can get out of there and he can start feeling dangerous and all that. Look, stay humble. You got a victory, but he brought hope to a defense that was like starting to let go of the rope a little bit. They were getting worn down, right? Bobby Wagner was keeping them together. Jalen Ramsey, everybody's fighting their butts off. And all it took was a couple throws in that game, early in the game, like, if we keep this thing close, we may have a chance. And it was, sure enough, it just started to click. And you got that touchdown by Cam Akers, and then the defense gets a stop, and then all of a sudden it's this long drive, and everyone on the sidelines, there was not one person sitting down on the sidelines in that 2-minute drive. Everyone was up screaming, yelling, coverage. I was watching the whole sidelines. We're like, what is going on? Like, I haven't seen the Rams like this probably since like the playoffs last year. And so they were in tune because they could feel it. And if it is Baker Mayfield's energy, if it is his arm talent, his ability to throw the ball down the field, if it is his ability to kind of get out of the pocket or sliding out of bounds or sprinting up running back or being able to take hits, whatever it may be, if it's Sean McVay's ability to recognize what he does well and get him in those situations as many times as possible, is it the offensive line second game together and they're getting removal, right?
No doubt.
All these different things came to play on Thursday Night Football, and it worked out, man. And so whoever it is, whatever it was, if it was all of them, if it was one of them, it was a beautiful thing to see because this team has fought from the Bucks game when the defense had to go back out there to get it stopped, right, and couldn't do it, or the Saints game when Stafford goes in and everything kind of gets wonky, to the Chiefs game where the defense plays well and Perkins is first star. All these different things have happened to last week or last Sunday when you had the Seahawks beat.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
And so to see all that come together, it was awesome, especially against a team that's been playing really well over the last month.
Shout out to the bigs. It's funny. If you want to, here's some game for you for the NFL. If you want to know if an offensive line is playing well and cohesive, and that nonverbal communication is so big, that's why it's so important for these guys to start and finish games so you can improve. But when you see guys coming off the ball at the same time and stepping with the same foot for the most part, that's how you know things are starting to work well. And that's when the run game starts to pop. It's no shock when you keep losing lineman after lineman to lower body injuries because guys aren't stepping in the wrong direction. I don't know where this guy's going. He lays on my foot, I break my ankle. So this offensive line, the way it's constructed with a 37-year-old left tackle, reclamation project, I was more excited for him going against those ends and Rob Havenstein than I was for Baker Mayfield playing well. Because Max Crosby was trying to put your lights out. He was. And in key situations, you kept him off your quarterback, same with Chandler Jones. So great job by the offensive line, and I'm sick for Cam Akers again. Great drive. Hold on to the rock. Who knows? You may not need a big comeback if you can score points there. That was huge, but great strip. But shout out to the bigs. And Ben Skoranek. Remember last year we were talking about him being stone hands? Can you tell his confidence has picked up in catching passes? I mean, look, I see the work he's done with Greg Olsen pregame. That stuff has translated into a guy that's making big catches and big moments. That's huge. Shout out to both those guys.
Erica, I feel like you wanted to jump in there on Cam Akers.
Yeah, that fumble, it definitely hurt, especially on the drive that they were creating at that time. And the whole time when it was 16-3 and we're getting later into the end of the game, I'm like, oh, I'm just still thinking about that. But I was actually... Kyren Williams had some good runs, and I've been really in love with him as a player the past few weeks. So I've been really wanting to see more of him. And I started to say, like, why is Cam Akers back out there? But then again, after, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about and Sean McVay does because he has trust in this kid. And Max Crosby is such a player. Yes, you have to hold on to the football, of course. That was a great punch-out. That was insane. Oof. But then he goes and he scores again. So you give Cam Akers that confidence back. You don't just sit him on the bench. You're still, committing him with Kyren Williams, but then you're putting him back out there to score a touchdown. And so when he got back into the end zone there, that hard 1-yard punch in that we really needed at that time, I was like, you know what? Like, good for Cam. And that sort of gave me this other boost of confidence that was just like, we are kind of trying to put the confidence back into this team.
And the catch before it to convert.
I was going to say this. I wanted Cam to score, not just because of what happened with the fumble, but because JB called a 17-play, 75-yard drive. And it was like with a 4th and 1. And it was like I could feel the energy from JB, like, you got to get in. We've gotten all the way here. And the touchdown LA might have been the greatest one of all of our whole career together because you could just feel the fight that he, like, JB was out there playing yesterday. It was unbelievable.
Akers stays in. Mayfield ready. Under center. Opens up. Hands off. Akers finding pay dirt. Pushing the pile. There it is. Touchdown Cam the Ram. Touchdown LA. The first of the night with 3:19 remaining. And the Rams are within 16-9 on a 17-play, 75-yard touchdown drive.
We had fun last night, didn't we? Even before 98 yards and 145. Like, we had fun last night. That was good. So Erica and DeMarco, you're both reminding me of, I hope I don't go off here. I'm sorry if I take too much of the microphone, but just give me a second because I was reflecting last night as I was trying to go to sleep about how this is rightly Baker Mayfield's redemption moment. And he's had a few. But let's face it, he's now been cast off by 2 franchises. He's been injured throughout this year, benched a couple of times, had to ask for his release and get out of Carolina. And that was a cathartic performance for him and for the Rams. And not that Baker Mayfield isn't now one of our Rams, but I was thinking about fandom through a tough year and a 6-game losing streak and how I've learned a lot this season, just like we do every season. But there are some individuals that I feel really, really good for. And they haven't been on the nice list of Rams fans for much of the last few years. You guys know what I'm talking about. Cam Akers is one of them. He was on the trade block. He was a healthy scratch. They're trying to find a new home for him for much of this year. Ben Skoranek, DeMarco said, I've never seen a rookie take more heat, a 7th-round rookie take more heat from a fan base and now he's a 32-yard Randy Moss, right? Like, he and Tutu Atwell are your go-tos. Tutu's another one. First pick of the 21 draft, 0 stats as a rookie. I mean, nothing on offense. Healthy scratch for much of this year, too. Now when it's third and whatever, you're throwing go balls to Tutu because that's where you are with this roster. Van Jefferson shut down early in camp. Multiple knee procedures. I'll wind this down, I promise. But, like, even Malcolm Brown. DeMarco, he was a former college free agent of the St. Louis Rams, if I'm not mistaken, during your time there.
Yep.
The Rams moved on from him multiple seasons ago. He had to be promoted from the practice squad again. These are the players who are making plays in crunch time against the Raiders. This was not Super Bowl 56, but it had shades, it had vibes of that because of the drive and because of who you were leaning on to make these plays. And I'll even finish with Taylor Rapp. Who takes a larger percent of blame for the defense's shortcomings when it doesn't go right than Taylor Rapp? For him to clinch that game, and it felt like the game was clinched when Van caught the touchdown, I get it. But I feel great for him and for so many others that I didn't list there. And I don't know what the takeaway is. Maybe you guys can fill it in. But I think it's easy to love all these guys and to support them and want good things to happen for them when you are winning an NFC West and an NFC Championship game against the Niners and winning the Super Bowl. I feel like I'm a bigger, better supporter of those guys and so many others through a 6-game losing streak this morning than I was yesterday.
Yeah, I would say this, that you didn't even mention Rob Havenstein, who's been a part of this offense the whole time, right? Or Tyler Higbee, who's been there. Ben Skoranek, who was playing fullback. He was in there blocking linebackers at one point. And so and again, this has nothing to do with John Wolford because he did what he could do. And as you could tell, he was in pain. They couldn't even throw the ball. They didn't even feel comfortable with him throwing the ball on Thursday night. But it shows you what Sean can do with the quarterback that has the ability to stretch the field vertically in a schematic standpoint, right? Like you can throw that throw, and again, I may go off a little bit, but the throw to Tutu Atwell, that was the PI, that changed the whole game. Because as you saw, the Raiders defense kept getting closer and closer to the line of scrimmage. Safeties are playing at 8 yards, and they're supposed to be in cover 4, and they're driving the run. And all of a sudden, you take a shot down the field, and you throw a 50-yard pass, it backs everything off, and then you started seeing the deep outs come open, the deep ends come open, and it's just having that vertical passing, and that's kind of what they've missed since Stafford's been out, right? Or the time to be able to make those throws, right? That's the other part, the offensive line being there. So, to me, everything, the we not me culture that we've talked about over and over again, how it's going to be tested, and the development of players, of guys coming off practice squad or guys like Ben Skoranek being a better, catching the ball better. Tyler Higbee out there fighting through injury and still trying to put his body on the line for the team. You do all those things for what happened on Thursday, right? It may not seem like a couple weeks ago, what was it, 4 or 5 weeks ago when this losing streak, 6 weeks ago when this losing streak started, or 7 weeks ago, but you fight and you scratch every day in practice for games like this, because when it breaks for you. And that's the thing that we don't see as players or as fans. Like I know what those dudes, and DeMarco, you know what those dudes are going. You're sitting in the cold tub after practice. You lost 6 games. You kind of thinking to yourself, some of the older guys, maybe Havenstein's like, what am I doing out here? All these different things are going through your mind, and yet you just keep, as they keep chopping wood, and then finally it breaks. And it's good to see it break in so many different facets. Like you said, Tutu Atwell being the lead receiver, Ben Skoranek making a Moss and 2 guys to go get the ball, Cam Akers' redemption on a fumble play, Baker Mayfield getting casted off, going to a coach that knows and understands quarterbacks and how to put you in the best situation to be successful. And then for Raheem Morris.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
All this soft coverage talk, Jalen Ramsey played press man. He was literally a yard off of Devontae Adams almost every play, right? And so, to me...
And it's the Raiders who get toasted playing press man in the 2-minute.
Way to go, Van. Yes, sir.
I want to jump on this, too, because there was a couple of Raiders fans that, they're angry, obviously, at the end. They were feeling no pain until the very end. And they were like, oh, whatever, like you're celebrating like it's a Super Bowl. You're 4-9, whatever. And I just sort of sat there and smiled and started walking back, to my car. And I'm thinking on the drive home, and I was like, why am I so, emotional? I feel And I'm not the one out there sitting in the cold tub doing all this stuff anyways, but you saw that reaction from Bobby Wagner on the sideline when they won. And it's this team that is, and we're here week in and week out just sort of following this team and rooting for them, and you know these players, and you get to know them, and you get to know these coaches, and like, they're people too. You're not just turning on your TV on Sunday and you're like, oh, my team isn't doing well, I'm going to shut it off. So like, to see like exactly what you just said, MJD, for them to just keep, you know, what other choice do they have? Everyone's like, oh, same answer, like there's a lot of games left. There are. You have to get out there and play your damnedest and see what happens. And so I think that's why, you know, people on Twitter are like, oh, they're celebrating like they won the Super Bowl. It's their 4th game. This defense has been, you know, carrying a lot of this team for a while because of all the injuries all over the place. And I think for the offense to come and do a drive like that, to see Bobby Wagner with that type of celebration on the sideline, like literally makes my heart burst. Like I just feel so happy for this team and for the future too. Yeah, it's 4-9. There's some more games left, but we've got maybe a new, you know, jump start into this offense, or maybe we have game planning, like you said, bringing out the Skoronix and the Tutu Atwell. Then all of a sudden, look who's coming back. Cooper Kupp's going to be back. Allen Robinson, like all of a sudden, this team, like there is a lot of hope here, Rams fans, is that's what I'm trying to portray.
It's funny, those Raider fans, right, that say you're celebrating like it's the Super Bowl. I think you're missing the point, because you should celebrate every win like it's the Super Bowl. Now, you have to be professional and move on. That's what you have to do. But you should feel euphoric, like you just won the Super Bowl when you beat anybody in the National Football League. And the second question to the Raider fans, you're celebrating like it's the Super Bowl. Well, how would you know? I would just wait for a while. So then, moving forward, and I'll be brief, this defense has been inspirational. To go through what they've gone through. And I've been there when you're trying to defend an offense that's trying to find its way. It's hard. It really is hard to get in that ice tub, to build yourself up so you can tear yourself down on Sunday, Thursdays, and Mondays. It is hard. But Bobby Wagner is a dang soldier. Really. I mean, it doesn't matter what's going on around him. He is still bringing it. That 3rd and 1 stop at the end. Great stunt by Greg Gaines. You tied up 3. You allowed Bobby to shoot the gap, and he did not miss. We said this pregame. After the game you had versus Seattle, right? Bobby was all emotional. That was big, and it was heartbreaking for him not to get the game ball. For me to walk up to him as a defensive coordinator and say, you know what, Bobby, I know that was tough, but today I need you to tackle Josh Jacobs 20 times to win the football game. And he got 14 of them. And you made the biggest stop of the game. So whatever you thought you knew about Bobby Wagner, whatever I thought I knew about Bobby Wagner, I tore that up, threw it in the trash. I'm enjoying what I see. This man is an absolute beast. He is special. You need to regard him in the same vein as Aaron Donald and all of the greats on that side of the ball. He is that good.
Second game without Aaron Donald, and the Raiders get 57 yards and 2 first downs in the second half. That's awesome. And I think the sentiment that I'm picking up on from you all is that 5-10 years from now, God willing, when we're doing this, I hope, and we're thinking back on this year, I don't think the main takeaway is going to be, oh, that was the worst title defense in NFL history. That was the worst post-Super Bowl hangover that's ever been. I think we'll probably be talking about, remember that time Baker Mayfield came in on 2 sleeps and started from his own 2-yard line with no timeouts?
We're in the Matrix. It didn't happen.
Got 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns to beat the Raiders. Like, and you ran the silver and black out of your building. Like,
oh, my God. Unbelievable.
It's not the Super Bowl, right? But what a way to cap a year that started with one.
JB, you couldn't tell me that wasn't the Super Bowl the way I felt last night. I was exhausted. I'm talking about, I felt like we as a broadcast team emptied the tank, right? Like
Maurice gave out like 19 game balls, and I gave out like 7 too. Like everybody on
who'd you? Everybody. You got one, DeMarco. Everybody got one.
Everybody got
one. I wore leather pants.
Yeah. Listen, okay. Erica, you definitely got one. To me, again, it's the we used to call it the beautiful struggle, right? In Jacksonville, we weren't winning, things were tough, but yet you had to be a professional. And you talked about Bobby Wagner you always heard stories about him and his preparation, his leadership, and all the different things. And it's like reading a book, right? Like I've traveled the world and you read about the Great Pyramid McGee's and all these things. It's once you go and touch it though, it's different. It's like, oh, this is special. The same thing with Bobby Wagner, right? The same thing with all these other guys, to see them keep fighting and struggling and then to find a way to win in a game that didn't even matter. Like, what is this game? To be honest, this game actually hurts you more than it helps you, right? It lowers your draft pick, to be honest, in the bigger picture, the bigger scheme of things. But to see the way they fought and they clawed, and you had a team with JB, they had 25 rushes in the first half, right?
Most the Rams have faced in the McVay era.
They and you're a middle linebacker, and your job is to tackle Josh Jacobs every play
On Thursday night.
on a short week. Like when most of the time defenses give up 20, 30 points on short weeks, like they stood up tall to Raheem Morris to get his team to play, to get his leaders to lead, to Sean McVay to have a newcomer come in and get the guys around him to help him. You saw Matthew Stafford talking to him, coaching him up on the sidelines. You saw the obviously Brian Allen and Tyler Higbee and all these guys coaching everyone up. To Kyron Williams, who comes in and gives a great burst, some big run, to everyone who fought, right? And again, when you're a rookie, you don't know any better, so we normally don't talk about those guys, right? But this was, at the end of the day, this might have been more energy I felt from this team than I did in that Super Bowl game, because it felt like it meant more, right? There's more games to play, but you have a lot of winners on this team who weren't winning, and they found a way to get it done.
Time to leave it there. I'll say this. The trip to Lambeau Field and 16 degrees or whatever it's going to be on Monday night, a lot more exciting, a lot more anticipating than it was a day ago. Might not even need those hand warmers.
Oh, no.
We're going to need all that.
Maurice will.
I'm going to be Michelin Man. Take a picture, post it. I'm going to have all of it on.
All right. Have a great weekend. You all enjoy your victory Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We'll talk to you Tuesday, okay? For MJD, DeMarco Farr, Erica Tamposi, I'm JB Long. This is Between the Horns, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers.